I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're talking to I'm Benjamín. He is an experimental pop artist who has just burst onto the scene with a brand new album called To the Love of My Life, Goodbye.
Tie me down, tie me down, and leave me here to bleed out, and leave me here to bleed out. Dry me out, dry me out, just leave me here to bleed now.
It is a wonderful album. The title cut is an emotional song. You'll just love it. It's available anywhere you download your music, including Spotify and Apple Music. Benjamín, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
My pleasure. My pleasure. To the love of my life, goodbye. That's kind of a heartbreaking sentiment there. Tell me a little bit about the inspiration behind the song.
Of course, biggest inspiration was just a really rough relationship that I went through last year. And I've gone through rough relationships in the past before, but this one really got to me. There's a lot of emotional abuse involved, and it just really traumatized me. So I needed some way of just getting an outlet, just screaming all of my thoughts about that relationship. And thus along came To Love My Life Goodbye, which is just the culmination of every thought that I have regarding that relationship put into one album.
Well, great. I mean, I feel bad that you were hurt like that, but out of it came something wonderful. And I think that's often the case when it comes to art. Out of heartache comes inspiration. And that's the case with this song. You can hear it in your voice, in the lyrics. You can hear it in the instrumentations as well. Tell us a little bit about the production of this song and this album. How did you get this all going? This is your first studio album, correct?
Correct. The biggest thing for me was I had released two albums before this that were non-studio. And I just needed that big step of finding my sound, making it also sound professional. And I feel like that's something I was able to do on this album, just with the overall production of it, the more experimental side of the soundscapes and the sonics. I think I was able to find a familiar yet unique sound that hasn't really been done before, and that's just something I executed throughout the entirety of this album.
Absolutely. Familiar yet unique. I would absolutely say that. And I guess that's why it's experimental pop with some funk influences as well. I like both genres, of course. So I was a big fan of this music. Um, Tell me about who are the musicians backing you up? Is this all synthesizer? Tell us a little bit about the musicality behind it.
Yes, so this is all done in solo production. There's only a couple of songs where I did end up paying, obviously, other producers such as Slang Ibis to do those songs, but the absolute majority of it was just me going in, producing all of it. Um, and it was a little bit daunting because it was the first time that I'd done an entire album self-produced.
Mm.
So I was a little bit nervous about it, but I think that the end result was more than satisfactory.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful album. Is To the Love of My Life Goodbye your favorite cut on that album?
Yes, I would say it is, just because it does such a good job of encapsulating the overall theme of the album into one track.
How many cuts are there on the album?
There are 20.
20. Okay. And it starts out with an introduction. And I was a little intrigued by the introduction because you kind of hear muted voices. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, so that entire muted voices segment of the introduction was voice acted, but it was based on an actual fight and altercation that me and my ex-girlfriend had had.
Mm.
So it was just really meant to give you a vibe for the kind of things that was going on in our relationship, the kind of abuse, the kind of emotional struggle that was going on, and all of that layered on top of a hauntingly cinematic uh, sonic experience that was just really meant to suck you into the album, realize, okay, this is what this album is about, and now it's started.
All right. Now, have you sent a link to your ex? Have her take a listen?
I have not, but we'll see how things go from here on out. Maybe I will.
Okay. Well, she might love it. You never know. You never know.
True.
But tell us how the album has been received so far from the people that you've been in contact with.
Absolutely incredible. I was extremely nervous because the albums that came before this obviously were non-studio, and because of that, didn't have the best reception. So I was extremely nervous, this being my first studio album, this being my first almost entirely self-produced album, what people were going to think of it. Especially because the albums coming before this were in a completely different genre, more hip hop than anything. So switching over from that to this pop funk sound was something that was scary for me. I wasn't sure people were going to receive it, but the support has been overwhelming, and everyone's just loved it to death. The reviews I've been getting are absolutely spectacular, and I couldn't be thankful enough of my entire fan base.
Wonderful, wonderful. Tell me a little bit about your life, what you do for a living. I'm sure the goal is to do music full time eventually, if you're not doing it already.
Yes, so right now I am actually full time on music. It's not solely music; it's also things like brand deals and my merchandise that's being sold as well. But all that mixed together, it is self-fulfilling enough that I can actually make a living.
So you're a creator. So whether it's music or a product or a business, you're an entrepreneur and a creator.
Correct.
Wonderful. What are your media links where people can find you to find out more about you and follow your journey?
Yes, I would just send everybody immediately to solo.to/I'm Benjamin. And there it'll have links to all of my music on all platforms, all of my socials, as well as any merchandise or perfumes that I have out.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, I'm Benjamin is your stage name, if you will. How'd you come up with that? Just because you are Benjamin, I'm Benjamin?
Yes, so that was a process of trial and error. I had multiple names before this, and I just sat down one day and I realized how much I kept changing my name and trying to find something different. And I realized there wasn't really a point in pretending to be something that I wasn't, and pretending to be this different person when all the music that I make is about me. So that's where I eventually just settled on I'm Benjamin. That's who I am, and that's who I'm going to be when it comes to my music.
Sounds great. Are you working on any new music? I know this was just dropped and just released, but I was wondering if you had other stuff in the can that you're ready to produce.
Yes, I have I guess you could call it a sequel album coming up soon that I'm currently in the process of producing called XOXO. And where this last album was about a past relationship, this next album is about the one I'm currently in and how much it means to me.
Okay, so the XOXO album is going to be about a new relationship that you're in now, or
Correct. Yeah.
okay, great, great. And how has that been received by the person you're with now?
Yes. I just I appreciate her so much because I think in most relationships, doing an entire album about your ex while you're in a relationship is just frowned upon. But she was completely understanding of it, very supportive of me, and I couldn't thank her enough. She's the love of my life, and I cannot wait to get this next album out.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, that's nice to see a story that has a happy ending because you had a little bit of a dark chapter there, but that's what life is all about. Life is a comeback story, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. And tell me, do you play any musical instruments? Is it all computerized? Tell me a little bit about your musical background and how you got started.
Yes. So some of it's computerized, and some of it is actual instruments. So I do play drums and I play guitar. So I
Mhm.
did try and incorporate that into there as well as using synthesizers. As far as musicality as a whole goes, that all started when I first started playing violin, I think at age 6 or 7. From there, I ended up learning mandolin, and from there, I ended up learning guitar. And then by age 15, I started actually writing for my own music. And I had no idea it would get to where we are today, but I am extremely grateful for that.
And how about live performing? Are you into that? Are you planning to do it? Are you doing it now?
Yes, so tour plans are in the near future here, because everyone's been clamoring for that quite a bit. But before we do that, we're going to be doing a virtual concert in a social game called Rec Room. That'll be my first live performance uh, ever as far as tour goes. So we're going to start there, and then from there, just going to go right on to tour around the country.
Well, that's exciting. The name of the album is To the Love of My Life, Goodbye. It is written by a very talented young man. It is also performed by that same talented young man. He is known as I'm Benjamín. And the website is on your screen where you can get all the links, not only to his social media, but also to download his music and follow him on the various music platforms as well. Benjamín, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing.
My pleasure. Great talking with you. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.
Tie me down, tie me down, and leave me here to bleed out, and leave me here to bleed out. Drown